Don't you love trees? Of course, they provide oxygen, but what particularly fascinates me is their individuality. They seem each to have their own character or personality. No two trees are the same. There's always some way in which they vary. As they grow, their branches reach out at seemingly random places to odd angles in response to wind, light, and whimsy. We've all that in common. We as people may look similar, but as we grow, we take different paths and become individuals. It's late autumn now, and leaves are falling from the trees, revealing their eccentricities even more. Hollow trees are particularly inspiring. They've usually suffered a trauma at some time in their lives, perhaps from a cut, a lightning strike, or a strong wind, after which rain, insects and fungus attack the dead wood that is at the centre of their trunks. But they can live on happily like this for a number of years, as trees are only alive and growing at the outer part of the trunk. But when they are completely hollow, it's usually near the end of their lives. And who will remember them? I've found the best way to really get to know a tree is to draw it. That's when you really look and feel your relationship grow. Constable is an artist who drew trees beautifully. I particularly love the studies he made directly from life, and these were also a great influence on the Impressionists. I look at his drawings and I see individual characters he saw and feel a connection to them across the hundreds of years that have passed. There are some beautiful trees round here, but my favourite one is a hollow horse chestnut about a mile away that I often walk past. A few days ago I went to draw it. Come with me and see it, and while I draw, I'd like to tell you about a hollow oak I remember from my boyhood. When I was about 10, I was at a boarding school in Kent. At night, our lights out was 9 o'clock, and mostly we went to sleep within about an hour. But very occasionally, when there was a moonless night, we would plan what we called a run. When our housemaster had said good night, and we were sure he wasn't coming back, we'd put on our blue tracksuits and Wellington boots and clamber out of a high window in the bathroom and make our way across the playing fields, through the woods and suburbs, to a dairy where there was a hollow oak tree. Sometimes a car would come past with its headlights on, and we'd all hide in a bush, or wherever we could. I'm sure we must have been spotted on occasion, and God only knows what they thought of 8 or 10 boys trotting along, dressed in tracksuits in the middle of the night. Today we might be mistaken for terrorists, but they seemed to be innocent days back then. Once we got to the tree, we clambered up inside it, squeezing into various parts of the trunk or further up, and we'd get out our penny sweets, such as mojos and fruit salads, that we brought with us, and discuss the state of the world for an hour before making the return journey. Our last hurdle was a slope just in front of our house, covered in long ryegrass. We crawled up it on our bellies in commando style, much in the way that we'd learnt from comics and films of that day, and thence to our beds to sleep. It was the sleep of heroes. I don't know who first thought of going on these midnight runs. It was a tradition passed from generation to generation, and I don't know how long the tradition lasted, but that hollow oak will be alive in the memories of a number of old men still. I now wish I'd gone back to draw that tree. It will be gone by now. Milk is no longer delivered to every house, and the site will be made over to housing. But at least I will have remembered my neighbour, this old hollow horse chestnut.